In the later months of 1247, the Count of Boulogne, Afonso, advanced on Coimbra with the intent of claiming the capital of Portugal and therefore the entire country, but the governor of the city, Martim de Freitas, and his men, staunchly loyal to King Sancho, were prepared to respond in what would be one of the definitive battles of the Portuguese Civil War. On the 25th of March of the year 1223, the third king of Portugal, Afonso II, passed away in Coimbra. Throughout his reign, he pursued a centralizing policy, often clashing with the aristocracy and even his own sisters. In his will, he expressed a desire for resolution, urging an end to conflicts. He hoped his 13-year-old successor, Sancho, would inherit the realm that he intended to have enduring peace. However, upon Sancho's ascension, the unresolved issues initiated by his father persisted. Complicating matters, Afonso II's 1221 testament stipulated that, in the absence of heirs, the throne would pass to Sancho's brother, Afonso, unknowingly sowing the seeds for a civil war in the Kingdom of Portugal. Though Afonso II had attempted reconciliation with his sisters in his later years, true peace was only achieved under Sancho II. The new monarch acknowledged some lands granted to his aunts by his grandfather, but stipulated that, upon their death, these territories would revert to the crown. As for Sancho's church policy, it was initially positive, with the monarch rectifying his father's abuses against the clergy. However, issues emerged, as his officials coerced clergymen into military service and seized their residences. Excommunication followed in 1238 after repeated grievances. Early in his reign, Sancho II prioritized countrywide settlement, issuing numerous charters. However, this effort waned 6 years into his rule, for when he turned 17, in 1226, he aimed to emulate his grandfather by expanding the borders of Portugal southward. Despite lacking the prowess of Afonso I, Portuguese borders extended, thanks to the capable knights of the Order of Santiago. By 1244, all of Alentejo and many parts of Algarve had already been conquered by Portugal. Despite the kingdom's significant territorial expansion, a crisis loomed as King Sancho II devoted excessive time to campaigning, leaving Portugal under the governance of his trusted chancellors. While some were strong rulers, others were ineffectual. By the 1240s, rampant thefts and murders gripped the kingdom, instilling fear in both rural populations and noble families facing constant violence. The bishops of Porto and Coimbra, as well as the Archbishop of Braga, distressed by the ongoing abuses, informed Pope Innocent IV, during the Council of Lyon, of the situation, advocating for Sancho's deposition as a rex inutilis. With no legitimate sons and in conformance with Afonso II's will, the Pope ordered Sancho's brother, Afonso, to become the curator of Portugal. Afonso, born in 1210, had left Portugal at 18, accompanying his sister Eleanor to Denmark, and later joined the French court of Louis IX in 1233. Knighted in 1239, Afonso married the heir to the Count of Boulogne and distinguished himself in the 1242 Siege of Saintes. On September 6, 1245, 2 months after Sancho II's deposition and excommunication, Portuguese bishops in Paris pledged loyalty to Afonso, deeming him the rightful leader. With only one task remaining for Afonso, that is, invade Portugal and claim his place as the curator, a large-scale civil war erupted, as Sancho II and his supporters rejected the Pope's decision. Before Afonso journeyed from France to his homeland, likely in August or September of 1245, clashes erupted between Afonso's supporters and those of Sancho II, with the latter emerging victorious. Undeterred, Afonso successfully landed in Lisbon in late December of the same year, strategically chosen for its manpower, resources, and proximity to Coimbra, Sancho's headquarters. Seeking popular favor, Afonso redressed the wrongs committed by Sancho's officials and granted privileges to the populace. The higher-ranking nobility and two of his uncles rallied behind him, joined by supporters from across the kingdom. Military religious orders like the Order of Aviz and the Hospitallers opted for limited involvement. The Templars initially favored Sancho II, but a change in their leadership led to their support for Afonso. Despite this, many commanders remained indifferent. The Order of Santiago, while having some allegiance to Sancho II due to prior relations, primarily focused on defending castles in the south, showing more political than direct involvement in the conflict. At the outset of 1246, having spent the early months in Lisbon, Afonso and his army marched to capture Leiria in March. By early April, the city surrendered without resistance, but the castle proved more difficult to claim, with multiple failed assault attempts. In May, the city's governor yielded. The siege claimed the lives of key noble supporters of King Sancho, weakening the defenses to Coimbra. Simultaneously, Óbidos was conquered by Afonso's army, using siege engines. By the summer of 1246, the Count of Boulogne had almost entirely brought the Extremadura region under his control. While fighting occurred in other regions like the northeast, the primary conflict unfolded in Extremadura and Beira. During this period, Afonso secured numerous castles including Montemor, Orém, Monsanto, Covilhã, Sortelha, Trancoso, Santarém, Sintra and Castelo de Avô. Some were willingly surrendered by governors convinced by Afonso's men. However, Aguiar de Sousa, Faria and Guimarães resisted, but ultimately surrendered due to the fear of excommunication. The many lords of the kingdom who were waiting to align with the eventual victor started following Afonso. Despite numerous good results, Afonso faced setbacks, notably in the failed siege of Ourique de Beira, leading to a retreat. Complicating matters, news reached Afonso that Prince Alfonso of Castile, future King Alfonso X the Wise, was assembling an army close to Portugal's central eastern borders to aid King Sancho II against the curators' advances toward Coimbra. The Castilian prince, Alfonso, mobilized his army, enlisting the support of the Aragonese, who contributed 300 knights. All of this was done without the knowledge of his father, Ferdinand III. Many nobles, including some of King Ferdinand III's brothers, joined the campaign to assist Sancho in Portugal. They advanced through the south of the Mondego River, reclaiming the castles of Covilhã and Guarda for the King of Portugal. The Castilian prince eventually joined forces with Sancho in Coimbra. In January 1247, the deposed Portuguese king, along with Alfonso, led a campaign to reconquer the castle of Leiria from the curator. Intense battles ensued as the Portuguese-Castilian coalition clashed with Afonso's followers, resulting in the defeat of the latter and the death of 200 men. Despite their victory in Leiria, Sancho's army couldn't take the castle from Afonso. In October 1247, acknowledging the futility of his efforts, Sancho decided to retreat to Castile, specifically Toledo, with plans to gather a larger army for an eventual return to Portugal. However, even as Sancho abandoned his country, Coimbra, the capital of Portugal, resisted Afonso III's siege. Governor Martim de Freitas, a staunch supporter of Sancho, was determined to prevent any other claimant from assuming the throne. As resources dwindled, he ordered women to evacuate, reserving provisions for the soldiers. Afonso's forces intensified the siege, employing trebuchets, but the city persisted. In the Minho region, some castles continued to resist Afonso, pledging allegiance to Sancho and awaiting his return from Castile. Unfortunately, Sancho's anticipated comeback never materialized. In Toledo, Sancho found himself unable to fulfill his goals, and on the 3rd of January 1248, the deposed King of Portugal died at the age of 45. Martin Freitas, still defending Coimbra, was told of his lord's death and sought authorization from Afonso to travel to Castile and verify the information. Upon confirming Sancho's death, Martin left a set of the keys to the city of Coimbra with the deceased king's body. Once he returned to Portugal, he finally presented the other set of the keys to the capital to the now king of all of Portugal, Afonso III. The civil war was over. However, Afonso was yet to gain popularity with all the noblemen in the kingdom. As a result, the new monarch planned a campaign to Algarve, aiming to garner the support of all knights and reconquer the final Muslim stronghold in the southwest of Hispania, thereby concluding the Reconquista in Portugal. The kingdom was thus unified under a new common cause and king.